In the Georgia Tech academic system, ME2110 is considered especially difficult. In Atlanta, the dedicated students who are tasked with defeating the Empire are members of an elite squad called It's a MouseTrap. These are their concepts. In order to defeat the Empire, the machine has to be able to accomplish several tasks while starting inside of a 2 by 1.5 foot starting zone. It must torpedo the Death Star, it must launch the Millennium Falcon, it must defeat Darth Uga, and it must retrieve the
The first design contains a large scissor lift and a rotating arm. The rotating arm dispenses the torpedoes, and the scissor lift lifts the Millennium Falcon. This design focuses on doing tasks that we have complete control over points-wise. For example, the scissor lift guarantees the highest height, which results in the maximum amount of points. This is why it ranks high in reliability and simplicity, but low in potential score.
Our second design features rollers with taped ends, a swing lift, and a rotating arm. The rollers would slide out from the base and then hit the Darth UGA, and at the same time they would adhere to the ping pong balls and later be retracted into our quadrant. The swing lift would raise the Millennium Falcon above the minimum height requirement, guaranteeing 10 points, and our rotating arm would dispense ping pong balls into the Death Star. Rollers were chosen because they were reliable in the subsystem competition, but with the addition of the taped ends, their reliability was lowered. This system has a high ease of setup and simple design, which would reduce trouble in the building phases.
Design 3 contains 2 fences, a rotating torpedo arm, and a swing arm. The fence on the right swings towards the floor to separate the fleet and the bone, then pushes the bone outward and retracts to collect the fleet. The fence on top does a similar thing, but only collects 2 of the ships. This design is more competitive because it sets up a natural barrier to protect the fleet and keep the UGA out.
Our fourth design features a moving base, a turnstile dispenser, and a swinging arm. The swinging arm would raise the Millennium Falcon above the required height. The turnstile dispenser would move towards the Death Star and then release ping pong balls into the rotating targets. While this is happening, a moving base would move the entire system towards the Darth UGA that's furthest from the system, and then knocking it out of our quadrant, and at the same time an adhesive side would stick to the ping pong balls, allowing us to collect them. This design is a fairly simple design, but it has low precision and low speed, as we have to wait until each task is completed before the system can be moved.
Design 5 contains 1 fleet, a rotating torpedo arm, a swing arm, and a double arm system that sweeps apart to collect the fleet. This double arm system extends to push out the Darth UGA and then splits in half to sweep the 2 sides of the fleet inwards. This is the ideal case because it completes all of the tasks, but this concept requires very complicated systems.
When the scores in the value matrix are added up, you can see that Design 3 has the highest score, mainly because of its ability to perform reliably, with precision, and have a high potential score.
When considering which design to select for final production, the team determined that one of the most important and complex motivators was the potential point scores of each design. For this reason, the team created a separate, specialized evaluation matrix to break down the predicted score of each design into its component subfunctions. These were weighted with the point value of that subfunction in the final competition, and probabilities in graduations of 25% were assigned to the completion of each component of each subfunction. These predictions were used to determine which design would be most likely to achieve the highest score. As can be seen from this matrix, Design 3 scores the highest potential total, in part by having the most reliable mechanism for retrieving the fleets, while still being competitive in components such as torpedo application. This highest potential score for Design 3 was a factor in the potential point and the competitive scores in the other evaluation matrix, which led to the selection of Design 3 as the final design.